Hello, Ajit.
Yes, yes, Roman.
Hello, how
Yes,
are you?
I am fine. I am fine. Yes.
Thank you very much. You you are with us, and we will talk today about very strange and topic. I would
Yeah.
say we
Yeah.
choose
Yeah.
today to talk about why homeopathy is very effective in panic attacks,
Yeah.
anxieties, frights, and states of fear. And
Yeah.
it's a special day. Unfortunately, not the best days here in Israel. After our small country received rain from rockets, more than 1,000 rockets were shot yesterday evening and this night. So
Yeah.
I didn't sleep almost the whole night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
many people in
The
Israel now,
yeah.
many people
This
in
is an
Israel now, even
unfortunate, very sad affairs which is going on, and our responsibility as homeopaths, as healers, how we can be of help to the people in such
yes.
circumstances.
And I wanted to tell that there are so many places this planet, especially these days, with grief and sorrow, with fear of death,
Yeah.
fear of insecurity. Only what happened yesterday in Russia, in Kazan, so sorry to hear about it. You didn't hear about it. One
No, I didn't hear about it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
one crazy guy shot
Ah, yes.
more than 10 people,
Yes, yes,
children
yes.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
teacher.
yeah,
So
yeah.
world is going to be crazy for a
Yeah.
while, and we are
The
going to
world,
treat.
world is rather going into a war. World is going into a battle. Battle with people, battle with corona, battle with violence coming through various sources for the human beings. It is unfortunate for the human beings that I think we have to build up the humanity within the humans now. This is the necessity. Yeah, yeah,
I think that one of such methods called similar cures similar, or in another word,
yes,
homeopathic approach. And we will talk now
yeah,
about
yeah,
how homeopathy can help people all around the world, not only in one country, to struggle and to overcome
yeah,
anxiety, fears, frights, and panic attacks.
yeah,
Um, we have some experience with it. So,
yes. I remember, Roman, long back you called me for such a situation, and I remember that we had a discussion, and I also suggested some remedies and gave some instructions to the homeopaths. I remember about this.
yeah, it was,
It is unfortunate that the situation has come up again
yeah,
to help the people.
yeah.
So helping is delightful at the same time. It is unfortunate.
Yes, I remember that call and I remember that period of time. It was one of the wars in Israel, and we arranged a group of homeopaths who um, gave homeopathic treatment all around Israel for people with anxieties, fears, frights, panic attacks once more. And even
Yeah,
we worked together with Israeli army and authorities. Um, I would like to share the screen and to show you only a few rubrics just to show people
yeah,
what we are talking about.
yes, 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 yeah,
So to those people who see it for the first time or for homeopaths, very experienced homeopaths, just to remind that there are many rubrics and many homeopathic remedies in these rubrics. So if you see in the rubric mind, fear, panic attacks overpowering 126 remedies, and mind ailments from shock 55 remedies, mind, fear, ailments from fright and fear 327 remedies, a very important rubric for this day. You know, this is um, like it's written in rubric. Elements
Yeah.
from fear or fright still remaining.
Yeah.
Fright and fever aggravates.
Yeah.
So every small pushes, every small sound, which reminds explosion of a rocket or something like that, make
Yeah.
people be alert once more. And
Yeah.
of course, the main rubric I think that many people are
Yeah.
dealing with is fear of death. You
Yeah.
can see here 284 rubrics. And of course,
Yeah.
um, how we can deal with so many remedies at
Yeah.
the one time.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
order to do it, we have to differentiate and we have to be prepared.
Yeah.
So that's what we are going to show our um, audience right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I would like you to show your screen, please.
Yes, I will show my screen and I will give you my assessment of the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roman, I would like to first go for the meanings of different words which we
It will
use,
be very good.
because then it is easy for a homeopath to select an appropriate rubric. Then we understand the real inner state of a person who is afflicted with fear. First word you know very well is the fright. It means sudden fear, a kind of violent terror, an alarming state. This exactly typifies the state today. So, the real name which we can understand to the mind is the fright. Fright concept is related to something which is sudden. When suddenly 1000 rockets are being, you see, attacking, so naturally this is something which is unprecedented, very certain. Certainly you are in a situation, and then uncertainty hovers in the mind. So the issue is about terror. So this word is a very good word to understand the real inner state. Then comes the second word, which is the panic. You see, for panic, there is a sudden fear as a cross reference. The meaning of the panic is something which is uncontrollable fear. You cannot control it. It overwhelms you. It engulfs you. In other words, this fear engulfs you. And then you become wild. You become chaotic. You lose the reason. You lose even your identity. So panic and depersonalization go together. Not only that, it debilitates a person. There is a difference between fear and panic. In panic, you are exhausted. You lose your energy of the mind, the instinct of the mind. And then he finds himself, you see, as if he cannot respond now. He is totally overwhelmed, loses the reason, and has no capacity to come out of the situation. This is something which is a deeper aspect of the fear, deeper aspect of the fright also. And then you have to make a differentiation that it is not a phobia. Phobia and panic are again need to be differentiated. For phobia, there are three words which are very important: extreme, so something which is intense, then irrational, and aversion. You don't want it. So there is a you see, repugnance. There is a kind of a, you will find loathing. I don't want it. So I don't want the fear. I don't want the war. I don't want the siren. So you go into the other pole of aversion. And therefore, in phobia, what you get is a persistent fear of the situation, of the object, and person wants to avoid all this. So once we know all these aspects very well, then it is better that we understand the mental status of a person. Let us take, for example, anxiety and fear. Fear is something you will find a threat to one aspect of the self. So when the threatening situation is present, you are frightened. Fright must include the fear. And in fear, you will always find that one knows what threatens him. The people are threatening, rockets are threatening, you know the background, which is a threatening situation. So, in the fear, you are being surrounded by threatening. And then comes a lot of imaginations in the mind. Then anxiety, you see, may not come from the present situation, but it can be perceived, but from a situation which a person anticipates. There are two types of anxiety, agitational and anticipatory. Definitely, both come into operation, but more anticipatory. A person becomes apprehensive, like, for example, our very typical gelsemium or argentum nitricum, because anxiety, fear, fright has something to do with uncertainty in the life. When you are certain, you have coping of phenomenon of fight. But when uncertainty is available, then you don't know what is going to happen. Then the anxiety, fear, fright, panic goes on increasing. So anxiety is more often stimulated by qualities within a person. An anxious person, for example, will have more anxiety neurosis after these incidents because he's already with the dispositional character of the personality of anxiety. On the other hand, fear can occur even in a healthy person because it is an experience. Through suddenness, if it is occurring, this fright is a experience, a human experience. And then, according to the symptoms, according to the shock, you will find a lot of symptoms come into operation. Vasomotor symptoms come into operation, sweating comes into operation, shaking of the body, chilliness, tremors, loss of voice, even convulsions, unconsciousness, fainting spells. So these are all the consequences, what we call as a psychosomatic or somatization symptoms due to the fright. So this is something basic which is required for understanding of all these features. Then comes a very uh, uh, big word, that is anguish. Anguish is something you will find an amplified scale of the anxiety, and it relates more to the state of the suffering. It is a little bit effect after fright, after anxiety. It is you are unable to sustain it. It is getting crystallized in the mind, and now it goes for the suffering part. A person may become nervous, person may become despair, despondent, with a lot of anxiety, which is very much amplified. So there is
In
a big state.
psychology, Ajit, they call it PTSD syndrome, post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah, yeah,
So we can
yeah,
see
yeah,
many of it
yeah, yeah.
in this.
Correct. It is a post-traumatic stress disorder is a big term which has been used. Yeah. So now, if we try to understand this basic, and then we will go for the remedies which are available. The first basic rubric, as Roman you have told, is the fear of the death. And I appreciate Roman for your willingness and the readiness to help the people with homeopathy. And it is really what we are observing with the corona outbreak in India, a war at a different level, but the human emotions are the same. For example, our aconite, argentum nitricum, belladonna, arnica montana, you see arsenic album, they are found to be extremely useful for the management of such patients. So this big rubric of the mind data, especially here comes our aconite napellus. Now the state of the aconite we have to understand very well. Aconite is one chief remedy in this condition. So there is a fear, anxiety, anguish of the mind and body. So it is not only sudden fright. Don't limit the action of the aconite for a few minutes and hours only. It has also the lingering process in the mind where anguish is there. When a person becomes suffering and distressful, then there is a restlessness, And most characteristic you will find is acute, sudden, and violent invasion with fever. So patient may have due to the shock of fever. So the reaction is of temperature increase. Second thing which is very important is in aconite there is a fear of death with prediction of the time, for which aconite is a very famous remedy used in homeopathy since more than 250 years. Actually, the patient loses the reason why there is a prediction of the time and why he feels that certainly I am going to die at 12 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, because he goes into a process where death will come at this level. This is nothing but a kind of a insanity, kind of unreasoning mind. So the faculties of the reasoning are affected very severely in aconite with overwhelming fright. Then comes urgentum nitricum, which is also for the terror, which is also, I am now trapped in a situation. So, there are shelter homes within the apartment. And when I visited your country many times, I was able to see how the apartments are being constructed in Israel. It is a really a very sad affair that you have to keep it like this one for the sake of security and stability. So the feeling with a sufferer is that now how long I will be in the shelter. I have to come out. I have to see the moon. I have to see the sun. I have to take the food and open air. And you don't receive it. You have a very severe trap feeling with again reasoning faculties being affected. So aconite is often followed by argentum nitricum. Then there is one more drug, very interesting drug, that is varietum album. In varietum album, there is much more reasoning faculty affected, still deeper than argentum nitricum. The person is totally becoming insane. He loses his identity, totally depersonalized, and he goes into a state where there is no any orientation to the world he is living within. So it is as if he is detached, he is in his own world, behaves very irrationally. The behavior is so insane that you have to control it. This is Varietam album. So the first trio which I want to give you is Aconite, Argentum nitricum, Varietam album. Provided not only the fright is there, but the subsequent consequences of the fright where the rationality of the mind is affected. Then there is a second trio which I want to give you after aconite, that is aconite followed by arsenic album. Now here the situation is deeper than aconite. Although arsenic album patient doesn't tell you the prediction of the death at what time it will occur. Now, basically, you may think that because the time of the death has not been predicted, it is less severe. No, it is more deeper and severe because arsenic is a very serious individual with serious pathology. So, when you describe arsenic, you describe the seriousness. The drug is very serious drug. So, naturally, the condition of the mind is very serious. When the
I
bombs are
remember that,
applied, yes, yes, Roman.
sorry, Ajit, I remember even this rubric, never
Yes,
smile,
yes,
Arsenic
yes, yes.
Margon.
So the concept is that there is much more suffering part. So fear, fright, anxiety is associated with anguish when the person is extremely distressed internally. So there is a grief, there is a sadness, there is a nervous melancholy, and there is a restlessness. This restlessness, this tossing is like aconite, but deeper. Patient is very exhausted than aconite. Aconite may not drink water, but arsenic album wants water, water, water every few minutes.
By small sips.
But his water drinking is only sips of water. It is not a big water. The extremities also become cold in arsenic album. So he requires something warm drinks. something warm covering. There is a chilliness. But the coldness, chilliness which you see in Varatram album is much deeper than arsenic album. So at the level of objective sign, you will find they differ a lot. In arsenic album, what is important is, you see, he takes the whole issue of the rockets as a extremely terrifying. This is very terrifying, tormenting, and goes very deep inside. So it doesn't remain at the level of fear or fright. It goes deeper and produces a kind of a perpetual anxiety. So anxiety state may not be very strong in aconite because that phase is over. He may go in a shock, come out of the shock. But arsenic goes into a second level of deep anxiety. And this is characteristic of arsenic album. And these simple incidents of 1 day, 2 day can have consequences even for years together in the mind. Arsenic patient can come to you 5 years after, 10 years after, as if the siren is, you see, ringing in the mind. And you cannot forget that sound. You cannot forget the inflammable objects and the fire. So the issue with arsenic is a deeper issue. So it is in this way you will find that you have every reason to make the changes. Let us take, for example,
Ajit,
yeah,
sorry, just
yeah,
to
yeah,
add
yeah,
some small piece. Uh, you put it so beautifully, that as if in arsenicum the state is so deep, so it exhausts him, and he has no his own fire from one side, but he is terrified
yeah,
by
yeah,
fire,
yeah,
and he's so cold
yeah,
inside, so he wants to warm himself
yeah,
by all kind of warmth,
yeah,
including this rubric desire for company. And arsenicum, we can differentiate from aconite in these acute
correct,
states,
correct.
that he will ask for the company, and he will look for the, not because he is anxiety about health of
Yeah,
father or step
yeah,
of father, no, because he is anxiety about anxious about his own
yeah,
state, and he wants some company, and this company will warm him, so it will bring little bit of amelioration.
yeah, yeah,
So that's what we saw a lot of time in these cases.
yeah,
One of the piece.
yeah. So I can make a comparison with a lot of remedies. So should I go for it or?
Yes, yes, of
Okay,
course.
okay.
It
Now
will be
let
very
us study
interesting.
now gelsemium. Gelsemium is also for the shock, also for the fear and the fright. But the anguish is less. He loses the power of the muscles more. So the fear goes more in the lower limbs. So lower limbs feel as if paralyzed, as if lameness. This is characteristic of gelsemium, and it causes exhaustion of the brain. The brain goes into a state of exhaustion, and that causes dizziness and drowsiness. The sleepiness, the drowsiness is a defense because I cannot tolerate it. So it's a kind of a conservation of the energy. So it is not an active participation in the anxiety state, just to go into a phenomenon of sleepiness. That is, you will find gelsemium. Arsenic aconite are usually going into fight. So they will talk out. For example, lachesis is starting talking out loquaciously with the fear. It is very interesting. And it is associated in lachesis with a lot of hate, severe hatredness, anger. I will show you. I am also a strong person. I will also try to launch a rocket and I will kill you. These all venomous, revengeful actions, revengeful thoughts in the mind. This is lachesis. And lachesis also, you see, a chronic sufferer of one incident also, where he will not forget what happened to his himself or to his family members. Now it is here when we think of the family members, we must think of the Kali group in general. Kali arsenicum, Kali carbonicum, Kali You will find silicata. Kali carbonicum is very important when the anxiety goes more at the stomach level. So it is as if a lump. It is as if the emotion striking at the pit of the stomach. And patient, you see, literally comes to a doctor. I am very fearful, and you see what is happening here. There are a lot of sensations, butterfly, you see, are there in the stomach. This is what we are able to see in Kali carbonicum. And there is a very good combination in homeopathy, Kalium arsenicosum. So you will find some arsenic picture, some Kali picture. At one level, there is attachment with the family, concern for the family. At another level, there is a very severe anxiety, and then comes restlessness. So Kalium is attachment with restlessness, attachment with anxiety. So Kalias can be sometimes more deeper acting than even arsenic in acute as well as in the chronic. A little bit difference from Kali nitricum and Kali arsenicum I can give you. It is very interesting, even though in the panic it is not shown. But in my experience, Kali nitricum must have been included also in panic. Because if you take into account argentum nitricum, the nitricum element is for panic. If you take a calcarea nitricum, if you take aurum nitricum, you will always find nitricum is for the panic, for the anxiety, for the trap feeling. So in Kali nitricum, the same situation like Kali arsenicum. But in Kali nitricum, it is more impulsiveness, more irrational behavior than Kali arsenicum. Because in arsenicum, it is domination more. The internal character, I have to deal with the situation with some violence, with some reaction. And
And with
here
some
it is
order.
more dictatorial.
Yes, and with some order, dictatorial. It should
Yes,
be
yes,
according to one, two,
correct.
three.
So he becomes more methodological, and he goes into calculations. So he want to take care of everyone with order and discipline of the food, of the shelter, of the you see light and everything. So he becomes a master prescriber to all the people who can be of certain help. He is not an imaginary man more, Arsenic album. Arsenic is more realistic, and he wants to solve the problem in a realistic way. Callinicum, argentum naticum, varietalum album, even aconite, they lose the reasoning faculty much deeper. So they cannot be of use to the others. Rather, they become nuisance to the others. Varietalum album is a big nuisance. So you have to take care. In addition to the rockets, you have to take care of this rocket, you see, as if he creates the problems in the family. So every human being has to be studied according to the rationality of thinking. There is something central to Materia Medica, each drug, and that centrality we have to catch. Then differentiation is very easy to do in homeopathic angle. Yeah. So this is what you are able to see. Let us take, for example, phosphoric acid. 1 day, 2 day, 3 days in the shelter, no solution is coming up. Police are telling not to come out, you see, out of the home. For example, I know I saw that there is one city in Israel which has been now regarded as an emergency. So you cannot come out of the home. So the situation with phosphoric acid is that it is a utter depression, and then there is a indifference. So indifference is a big shield for the mind. I mean, it is a defense mechanism of the mind where you don't allow these emotions of love, emotions of grief, emotions of disappointment. Maybe someone bereaved, someone died out of all these incidences. And then phosphoric acid goes into the other pole of, you see, no reaction. So this is a deeper nervous affection. This is a deeper melancholic, depressive state of the mind
It's
rather
kind
than
of
the
shelter,
agitated
Ajit.
state of the aconite.
It's a kind of shelter.
Yes, it is a shelter.
He
It is a
protects
shelter.
himself.
And emotional numbness. shelter with emotional numbness. You become numb. You become anesthetic. The mind becomes anesthetic. This is what you are able to see with the panic. Yeah,
And with this, in this moment, I would like you to bring to the stage Calcarea
yeah,
carbonica as one
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah,
biggest
yeah.
remedies for
Calcula
anxiety.
is a basic psychotic remedy of fears. If you take into account why it called as a basic, because calcium is physiological in our body. Our heart and brain and cannot work without the calcium. So it becomes a basic element in the body and basic remedy in Mater America. So naturally, after this incident, when the patient goes into psychotic state of fears, multiple fears, then his dependency is increased. He starts leaning on the others. His reasoning faculty is affected. His resoluteness is affected. He becomes more irresolute. And then you will find that he cannot operate his mind in an independent nature. This is Kalkiraka, which you are able to see. So, according to the behavior, according to the totality of the expressions with this human experience, which is a terrifying one, you can really make a good division of the homeopathic personality types and institute your management in a homeopathic way. Yeah,
Uh, Ajit, so I would like to summarize the first part. We talked about trio, aconite, arsenicum album, and veratrum album. This is the first trio. And the second trio, we talked about aconite, and then you went to another direction, like
yeah,
uh, uh,
yeah. So I forgot to tell you about the second trio. I understand that is aconite, arsenic, and very strangely, it could be stramonium. Because you see, the problem with stramonium is that uh, it's like a you see, after aconite and arsenic come, first layer is over. The inner layer of anger, wrath, violent behavior, and I want to kill you, like nitricum acidum. But stramonium comes from the Solanaceae family, where again he becomes violently furious to take the action. So the behavior is that he starts abusing, he starts cursing others. So here the rockets are getting fallen, and his words, which are very strong, are getting uttered from the mouth. This is, you are able to see the stramonium, and it could be in stramonium again without control. Belladonna, chamomilla, you will find Hyoscyamus, stramonium. These are pillars of Solanaceae family, where loss of control is the thing, like varietal album. So stramonium loses the control and he goes into rage. I remember a very interesting case of a patient who went into acute psychotic episode after he was being offended in a big marriage ceremony before 500 people who gathered for the marriage. And then he went into a other pole where he totally depersonalized, and he was constantly for more than 6 hours very loudly abusing the people. And stramonium, after, he became calm and went to the sleep. So the situation with stramonium, you have to understand, it goes at a other level. Like phosphorus goes at the depressive level, stramonium goes at a big upper level of fight and expressions which are agitated and loud, screaming, swearing, abusing, using also the language which is very difficult to listen to and to get you see absorb. So this is what is stramonium, for example. So there are a host of remedies which you can study and you can really go for this.
Ajit,
Then
may I
if you see
suggest,
the,
sorry,
yes,
Ajit
yes,
here, may I suggest three more remedies. We have to talk about them.
Yes, yes.
Otherwise, what is this topic
Yeah,
without
I understand. Okay,
opium
okay.
and
Yeah,
roostocks?
I will give you. First, very important remedy which I want to give you is Arnica montana. Arnica has a fear also. Arnica has fear of death also. In Arnica, there is hypersensitivity, then followed by hyposensitivity, and then insensibility, like opium. So before I talk about opium, there is an earlier stage that is Arnica montana. And in Arnica, the defense goes at a different level. The level is that I am okay, I'm not suffering at all, and I don't think I have a big issue. A doctor comes to examine, to give injections and some painkillers, and he tells to the doctor, I'm okay, you can go home. So the issue is that the recognition of the shock is not acceptable. So this is denial. Denial is a very big defense mechanism studied in psychology. So in Arnica montana, this defense mechanism comes up. Therefore, Arnica, even though the injuries could be serious, patient doesn't recognize them. So doctor's duty is to understand that this could be the defense and he may have big injury, mental as well as physical. Now, if you go still further than Arnica, there is a remedy called as opium, which has a shock. Fright comes and goes in the brain and causes total insensibility, which is the essence of opium. So, what is this insensibility? Go at the other pole of paradise. It is as if I am in heaven, I am in paradise, I have no problem, I don't think I am in difficulty. So, everything is okay with me. But it is deeper pathology of denial. It is not normal. Even a patient of opium can go into deep unconsciousness only due to fright. And you have to now wake him up with great efforts. The same state you are able to see, but little intense in gelsemium. Just sleepiness, just drowsiness and dizziness. So you can wake the gelsemium patient up. But to wake up opium is difficult because it is a deeper state.
I
So
remember,
voluntary and volitional motor, you see, developments, motor, you see, activities are benumb in opium. This is
I,
exactly what you see in the toxicology with opium. Yeah,
Ajit, just
yeah,
to mention, I remember that arnica and opium, they both are situated in the rubrics. First rubric is traumatized seriously, but says to doctors that he is okay. Arnica and
yeah,
opium are both in this rubric. And the second
yeah,
is very interesting that they are in a semi-comatose state. Then you can wake
yeah,
up for a while, he will answer you,
yeah.
and then we'll go to sleep again. Both arnica and opium in this state, but opium is much deeper in this state. And as you mentioned, it is very difficult to wake up opium. Sometimes it takes years.
And there is a one more remedy which is very interesting. That is ammonium carbonicum. If you see ammonium carbonicum, you will always find this is a remedy which is also in the fear of the death. This is a remedy you will find where person like Arnica may actually suffer from something related to the brain, something related to the heart. So sudden fright cause heart attack with collapse of the heart, with extremities being cold, very difficult to take the breathing. So there is a highly suffocating feeling. This is ammonium carb. And ammonium, you see, always with rough and coarse behavior. So ammonium again goes into a, you see, very problem creating individuals. So he starts abusing others, not understanding others, very angry, and with a lot of vindictive characters like Lacases. So Ammon group is very much, you see, rude in behavior. So it's like a aversion to people. People are not treated very well. It is like ammonia gas, no? So ammonia is present in our urine, and you will find the urinal is always with ammonia, and if you don't add the water, you cannot tolerate the ammonia gas. So this is exactly, you have aversion to the urinal because of this gas. This is exactly, you want to run away from the urinal, no? So people want to run away from ammonium group because you cannot tolerate the roughness. I treated 3 4 cases of ammonium carb with this COVID-19 ICU cases, and they were extremely bad in behavior with the doctors and the nurses, and that was a prime indication to think of venomous group of the snake and the ammonium group, especially ammonium carbonicum. Yeah.
And
Okay.
of
So
course, Ajit, we cannot leave this talk without Staphysagria.
yes, correct, correct. Because if you take it as a personal pride being involved, the pride of the nation is involved, because you and your nation, you are inseparably linked to each other. So naturally, Staphysagra patient takes it as an assault over the self. This rocket in my area means it is a kind of a, you see, wound to the Staphysagra pride. So naturally, when such things occur, remember, Staphysagra is much more with irritability and anger, maybe violent anger. And this could be a reason later on to join the army also. That I will take the revenge and I will show that I am a hero. So Staphysagra issue centrality is heroship. And this is the pride of the Staphysagra, of the heroship, like lycopodium, like platina. So Staphysagra, like acid nitricum, is for the violent anger which is induced because of this situation. So for example, acid nitricum, you have sympathetic view to the people at one pole, very severe anxiety at other pole, at the third level, hatredness. So this is a combination, super combination for nitricum acidum. So each remedy has something which is the nucleus. And once we know the nucleus, we can understand the ramifications into the periphery, how they behave in one way or the other. But you have to make a good totality, try to understand the evolution, and then try to understand the current state of the mind in which the sufferer is. So once you define the evolution very well, then the remedies start talking with you. So they are not only words in the Materia Medica. It is not a black and white writing. It is a living humans before you, how they represent their inner state to a homeopath, to a discerning homeopath. Yeah.
Ajit, so to summarize, if
Yeah.
somebody has wants to have a kit for first homeopathic aid, what 5 or 10 or 15 remedies you will suggest to put there?
Yeah. So take a good totality, try to understand how the suffering is coming to you, what happened, what was your mental state, how you behave. You can take the help from the relatives also to make the data adequate. Then make a good totality and define clearly the mental state of a person now. So the current mental setup, and you can make some divisions like whether it is really fright, it has gone into fear state, it has gone into anxiety state, it has gone into worry state, it has gone into anguish state, it has gone into depressive neurosis, it has gone into psychosis. So these are the issues. It's like, you see, you are at the center, now you travel in many directions. And some direction which is taken by the mind, you just catch it up, link it with the cause, and then find the remedy. This is the idea. Yeah.
Very nice. And the last one, what are the 7 or the 10 most important remedies in such state? Of course, we have hundreds, but anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah. And the most important remedy in such a state is you see arsenic album, according to me. After the state of this aconite is over, because many times the problem with aconite is that this state is with the patient. He has gone into the state because it occurs in, you see, first few hours. Immediately patient is not coming to you. So naturally, although aconite is a very discernible remedy in symptoms, very few patients do visit a homeopath. That state is over. Then the second stage comes up. And I have found that in such a situation, arsenic album is a remedy of choice because it covers the terrifying situation. It covers some thinking process now, how I have to deal with. And people then go for discipline, order, how I can be of help to my family, how I can give the shelter to my family, how my family and me will become more secure and stable. This is arsenic album. So I think arsenic album is a major drug, and it could be given, you see, for the people who are, you see, having these issues of the mental state because of these post-traumatic problems. Yeah,
Okay, Ajit, so thank you very much for this
yeah,
short but very important discussion. And
yeah,
we will treat people with homeopathic drugs, and we will
yeah.
serve our communities. Thank you very
Correct.
much.
Yes,
We'll be in
yes,
touch.
yes. Take care.
Thank
Take care.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, yes.